Kelli, welcome.
Hi, Adam.
I
So
just love
happy to
how,
be here.
yeah, I love how flexible you are. Literally 2 minutes before we get on, I'm like, listen, I know we talked about an agenda and a title. I hear a lot from our community. We need to pivot. Kelli, are you game? And Kelli goes, yeah, I'm totally in. Let's do this. So first, real quick for the audience listening in, as you all know, started the podcast about a year ago, 70 plus episodes. It's all about answering the question, what is the future of people initiatives? And we're now in season 3, drilling into what we see as the answer, adoption of marketing mindset and employee experience. To simplify, marketing in the world of people function, in the world of HR, to employees. Um, I have an interesting approach to today's episode, but before I do, I'm going to meet some of your suggestions. Kelli, I'm looking for one fun fact about your life outside of work that would give us a little glimpse into your world, and I'm going to reciprocate as well.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thanks for having me, Adam. I've listened to about 10 of your podcasts so far. They're amazing, and I think what you're talking about is right up my alley as far as how I've been working in this function. So, fun fact, I think for me, probably about 15 years ago at this point, since we're getting older, I was a professional amateur boxer for a while,
Whoa.
and it was fantastic. And I think kind of ties to the intensity level and kind of how I like to work and the energy levels and all of that. So continue to push and challenge and frankly get a little uncomfortable.
Ola, that's my wife. You're so right to suggest this question. Like that gave me a little insight into your world, and I'll reciprocate quickly. But Kelli,
Please.
I've been bitten by the pickleball bug.
Yes. Many
It's
have.
it's
Many
it's
have.
it's terrible. It's terrible. Um, awesome. So here is going to be the for you audience listening in. You're all innovators, and I want to let you know I hear you about your biggest frustration. The frustration is you get it, and you need to explain it to your executive leaders. That's what's next. That naturally you see this emerging market. You're like marketing inside edge. I get it. And then you talk to me, we talk to each other. We're actually, fun fact, next week releasing a draft of our book, The Lost Audience, based on what we've
Amazing.
learned in collaboration with a ton of our guests for feedback. But again, we are in this place. So, Kelli, here's
Amazing.
what I ask for you and I to do over the next 45 minutes or so. And you and I at the end are going to check in on how well we've done. We'll give ourselves an honest assessment on our success. The ask is an episode that our innovators can send to their C level to make a case, hopefully a convincing case. It's not going to be a drop the mic case because data, ROI, there's just a lot involved. But it's a case to look further into adapting marketing in the world of people function. Are you up for that?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
And I think you're pretty prepared considering your experiences. By the way, you all, I'm not going to list all the amazing companies Kelli's been a part of: Intuit, Yahoo, Nook, which is part of Barnes and Noble's, GitHub, Hired, Looker, Google, and now with Pendo.io. So I want to open this up is where you and I had a lot of passion as the moment we started speaking, which is this has been in the works. Marketing has been coming into the world, and you're in San Francisco, so maybe start us there. What were the first signs, and how much of a movement are you seeing that marketing has in getting into the world of people function toward the internal audiences?
Absolutely. So I've been doing this, I think, since I was about 21 years old. And I remember all Bay Area based global headquartered companies besides Pendo, who's headquartered in Raleigh now. Uh, but I feel like we were always pushed to be on the cutting edge of how people work, right? And the cultures that we're creating, and frankly, reaching and connecting with employees. It was almost like a prerequisite out here in every company I've been a part of that you just can't get stuff done unless you're reaching the workforce in a way that works for them and they feel is transparent and contextualized and makes sense to them, right? I mean, you're not pushing out HR programs corporate, check the box. You're literally convincing employees to take part in a lot of ways. And
Hmm.
that's just how I frankly grew up in doing people, HR, and the companies I did it in. There was no choice, right?
Hmm.
A great example of that was at GitHub. I still call it to this day, doing HR on stage. We had to use GitHub to get work done, and that means literally doing HR work through repos on pull requests, letting 400 engineers dissect what we're proposing, what we're rolling out. I mean, you literally could not do HR or people related work behind a curtain and then present it and have people do it. So I think for me, Adam, and that was back in 2014, about 10 years ago. But even before that, these very very smart, very passionate workforces that have a lot of choice and they're very talented, you've got to reach them in a way that is, again, contextualized and personal to them. You got to convince them to do the work, not shove it down their throats.
I mean, first of all, just like let's hone in on that word connection. How important is it to create a connection? And we all understand connection in the context of brands and customers. That's part of the conversation all day long. And how do you customize the message? How do you meet them where they are? And if we want to accomplish the same internally, isn't marketing the only field? Now, it's not the only, there's sciences involved, there's behavior science, there's a lot of complexity to it, but that is the unifying function that has been able to crack the code and continues to improve cracking the code.
That's right.
Now, the next place where I'd like us to go, people, process, technology, and you already started there. I had HR on stage highlighted many times on my in my notebook. For whatever reason, it was breaking my brain. I don't know why. HR on stage was breaking my brain. It's almost like thinking about who, if marketing is the thing, who should be the internal senior marketer? Who should be leading the marketing? And you said HR on stage. So, like, am I the only one whose brain is just kind of needs to be rewired to think about HR on stage?
No, I don't think so at all. It's a very vulnerable way of practicing this work, right? I mean, this work is not, it's very complex and it's nuanced and it's a lot of high stakes, right? It's very hard to do that when you're doing it in front of the whole company, right? A lot of HR teams, they want to get it perfect. They want a safe space to kick things around. What I'm saying is connecting with the audience and winning that commitment from these workforces. It's okay to be a little vulnerable. It's okay to do work with them out in the open. And I say on stage because I use the theater analogy, right? Just doing the work real time in front of that curtain where everyone can see you doing it versus behind the curtain and then coming out with the product. That's the
Mm-hmm.
difference. And that is very hard. It was very uncomfortable for me when I first started doing that because you do get picked at. You're not always correct, right? You're getting feedback. I mean, it's one to many here. There's hundreds of these employees with hundreds of opinions. You're not going to make everyone happy, but I think for me, treating our workforces and our employees like customers, that's the key.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
that's why I say doing that, because it is uncomfortable, but it's amazing how much more buy-in, commitment, and all of those things you get by being vulnerable and saying you're going to be doing that and wanting that feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because I think that the people teams, we are a brand. Back to the marketing analogy, we
Mm-hmm.
are we are a product, right? It's just an internal product, but every company's HR team has a brand, just like a product or a company externally has a brand, right? Kraft Foods, Nike, that like you have a brand whether you know it or not. And so for me, we are marketing to employees. We do have a brand, and how do
Mm-hmm.
you connect with them and serve up products, programs, the work we're doing, even if it's a boring policy? How do you do that in a way that's connecting with folks that fit the culture of your company?
Mm-hmm.
That's
You have
kind
a
of how I
brand.
think.
we have a brand, whether it's intentional or unintentional. And if you want to be on stage and if you want to make everyone happy, you're going to make no one happy because you're not going to say anything of relevance. And I think the world of HR historically is rooted in risk mitigation, compliance, ensuring that what's said doesn't offend anyone, that maybe doesn't make any mistakes. And really, this isn't how marketers think. Marketers take chances to create a connection because they understand a connection is not a small thing. It's not easy to do. By the way, I'm putting myself in the mindset of maybe one of the CEOs listening or CTO or CHRO who received this video. They're like, when are you all going to talk about an ROI? Like we can't continue this conversation without having some and let's pause and reflect. Marketers didn't start out with a clear ROI when marketing was just beginning to
Right.
customers. That was a journey to get there. So, Kelli, in order to keep the attention of those that are about to just go, no, I've heard enough without ROI being addressed in any way, how would we keep them from turning off at this moment?
No, it's a great question, and I hear that. I think there's a lot of ways to get to ROI, right? We have all the lagging indicators. We have
Mm-hmm.
attrition. We have open recs. We have time to fill. We have all of these things, and we all know that someone attrits your company, that's easily 1.5 to 2x their salary. Great. Um, but we also have other ROI factors, right? Internal mobility. How many of your leadership roles are being recruited externally versus internally? I mean, I do believe there are qualitative factors on these that are very real. The companies I've worked with, Pendo, right, that I'm here now, still here after 3 years, companies I've advised for, the CEOs that get it. I mean, we all know it's 2024 almost. We know that culture has an impact on the business. I mean, that is a fact, right? The culture of a
Mm-hmm.
company, the employees, right? Happy employees create happy customers and great products. They stay, they're innovative, they're confident. We know that that has an impact on the ROI. I don't think anyone who hasn't been under a rock is not saying that at this point. So for me, it's less about nickel and diming exactly what those dollars
Mm-hmm.
are, but knowing that it does create dollars, either dollars lost in the form of people leaving out the back door, and people kind of, right, the whole silent resignation and kind of working at 50% and just kind of hanging around, or it's dollars won because they're going over and beyond and they're innovating and they're building great things together and thinking about new ideas. So for me, creating that type of environment and that type of culture through the work and the products, right,
Mm-hmm.
that the HR team is building with the executive team for that workforce is a very meaningful thing. um
Totally
and so
with you, Kelli.
yeah.
I'll just say and this is not endorsed by you. This is my point of view because I'm fighting for you CEOs not to turn off the podcast at this moment. So this is my last case before we move on, which would be listen, you have a brand externally that you invest into and you measure things like impressions, right? I think it was Coca-Cola. They were asked, "You're doing so well. Why are you still investing in advertising?" And the response was, "When your plane is flying, do you stop? Do you don't need to guess anymore? No, you continue. You understand that you just start to measure things differently. Impressions, click-through rates, engagements on social media. You understand that connection with your external audiences is super critical for you. We're proposing that you begin to do that internally, whether it's wellness or benefits or whatever it is. Start to measure, as Kelli said, the leading indicators. And that is a new world for us, for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say, right, there's two sides of that coin. Internally, right, our workforces are our customers for staying at this company, but the company is a product externally, right? Just as the internal culture, do I want to be here, blah blah blah, is important for internal customers, employees. That company itself is a product for every potential person that could work there. And I've seen it, right? Some of the best companies out there. I'll go back to Pendo or Looker. I mean, I used to wear my swag and wear hoodies, And that is a great indicator, right? Caltrain wearing a hoodie and someone's like, oh, you work at Pendo, you work at Looker. I've heard great things, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is a big deal. And that product marketing, that brand, it does have impact, right? Because I've also seen the reverse. Ooh, I won't say companies' names, but ooh, you work there. Ooh, that ripple effect out there is very big, and all of a sudden, people aren't wanting to come. People are leaving. Great A players in the company are not referring other A players. They are leaving, and now what you have is a potential death spiral of a business that might be, not growing or moderately growing with C talent in the company. And that's very hard. It's like quicksand. That's very hard to get out of. So building the right products internally for that workforce then helps create the right brand marketing externally for your company because it does have a brand.
Totally connected. How could it not be connected? The internal brand and external brand. So again, congratulations for those who did not turn off. Right, that means you got this podcast from an innovator inside your organization. You listened to our case. Sure, maybe you're not convinced yet, but at least you're going to listen beyond this point. But I'm going to let you know it won't be easy because we believe in this emerging market. Investments are going to need to be made. So I'm just going to call things all day. I don't know if it's my mood today, Kelly. I've had so many conversations in the last few weeks where I'm just getting a little frustrated and I want to call things what they are. In this emerging market, people, process, technology. So, Kelly, when we think about this internal brand, when we think about marketing to our employees, let's talk about the people. We already agreed it lives inside the people function, whether it's the CHRO, maybe it's your chief people officer. I've seen that. I've also seen new little branches being created, whether it's employee value proposition, employee
Yeah.
experience teams. There's a lot of different ways to think about it. But it is marketing to employee experience across all the way from onboarding, maybe before onboarding, all the way to retiring or beyond alums. So Kelly, what is the composition? And I know it's a dream state of the team capabilities that would be able to market internally.
Look, yeah, I agree. It has been a tough couple weeks. Very busy. I'm with you on the edginess factor here, but look, the goal is what are you trying to do with the business? What are you trying to then do with the workforce to help accelerate that business
Nailed
in a
it.
way that connects with who you are as a company, how you communicate, your values, how you get stuff done, how employees expect right things to happen. And then how do you architect that in a way that's holistic, to your point, not just one experience or one part of an employee's journey with you, but all of it. And are they connected and are they consistent? And for me, it hits all of those things all the time. And it's not just the people team marketing or talking to the workforce, right? It is how you're bringing along that leadership team to be a part of your marketing force.
Mm-hmm.
So, for us, it's a very clean structure, right? It's the top leadership team first, rallying hearts and minds and getting them to be a part of this movement. And then it's the broader leadership team. Then it's the managers, right? Then it's the whole company. And that is a very powerful, medium because a lot of times it's inversed and you have these HR teams that have great intent and they're going out and they're talking to 700 people and they're doing a bunch of stuff and the leaders are like, what's going on? You can't do this by yourself. um, and so I do think that the people team, we have special skill sets, right? We're facilitators, we're connectors,
Mm-hmm.
we're systems thinkers. We know people, we know strengths of people, right? I mean, we have to be the catalysts and the architects of that, but everyone kind of owns it, right? We're asking for help. We're getting people on board to help us do that. And that's worked really well for
Mm-hmm.
us. And the last thing I'll say is I'm a big fan of channels, right?
Mm-hmm.
Channel marketing,
Mm-hmm.
gotta find the best, the right, and more than a couple channels internally to talk about, to connect, to communicate and get momentum around the things that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It can't just be one channel. I mean, email is the worst, right? We all know that. But
The worst.
7 channels, right? As an example, all the time, different mediums, creative ways, make it fun, make it engaging. That's what marketing does. right? They're
Mm-hmm.
not robotic, they're not long, they're not boring. It could be a GIF, it could be a funny video, it could be something that connects with your company and quick, right? You got the TikTok generation, you got all these things, and you have to evolve because the traditional lumbering ways of making, creating, and rolling out and communicating people related work is just changing.
So quickly, and also our minds are changing as consumers. I could argue for the worse in many respects, but that's a philosophical conversation at this point. It's not, the reality is reality. So let's, Kelly, talk about it. Let's talk about the people process together. You said sending a message, right? That connects, that engages, that maybe is entertaining, and that message is part of a campaign. That campaign is focused on that specific element of the employee experience. Let's do one that comes up all the time: internal communication around values of the organization, right? What do we know? We know that you hear something once, you haven't heard it. Yeah, I mean, were you really paying attention? What do you need to hear something 7 times or 8 or 9? Depends on what the research shows across the different channels. So, what I wonder about is the skill set necessary to design that campaign. Because we know marketers, even in marketing, there's various folks. This one does video, this one writes copy, this one creates the ads and the programmatic buys, this one
Mm-hmm.
is on the technology side, this one is on analytics, this one connects it to the brand. There's all these people that as an orchestra come together to create this beautiful music that the customer experience.
Right.
What do we do on the people functions? Do we go borrow marketing resources? Do we create new ones? Do we hire? Do we partner with a new generation of agencies that will be forthcoming? What the heck do we do to build those kinds of awesome campaigns to rival the attention span?
Sure, sure. Look, it can be very overwhelming, right? I mean, I could see a lot of people leaving this podcast being like, "Oh my god, we have to hire marketing people. I've got to build this big thing." I think we should just bust that up right now, Adam. I think just do two things. Just pick two simple new things. And frankly, we don't have to be rocket scientists. Employees, they're actually good. Most of them are great humans. Go talk to them, right? Go ask them, hey, we got pay transparency, right, as a thing. We're all grappling with pay transparency. We've been grappling with it. How do they want to see that? What are they curious about with comp, right? What would they want to know if they got a message or a video or a Giphy or a pop-up, or right, if you're a Pendo and we have a awesome digital adoption platform and we want to put in-app guides and like badges and get people's attention during the workflows they're doing anyway, what would get their attention? Again, I think back to HR on stage, we don't give employees enough credit for helping us. They will help, right? They are the audience. It's like having, free customer back feedback right there. So if you have 200 employees, go talk with 50 of them, 15 minutes, nice sampling, and just say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, what's going on nowadays? What would turn you off? What turns you on? And they will help you build it. Ironically, like they'll just give you the answer.
Mm-hmm.
And the marketing teams are amazing too, right? We partner with our marketing team. We ask for help. We also ask for cross training. So our own team trained up four maybe super users on our HR team that now are whizzes at using the Pendo platform. And we can
Mm-hmm.
do tons of different, again, real time, in app, serving, contextualized material for our programs in Gmail, in Slack, in
Mm-hmm.
workflows, right? So you're working your day to day, Adam, and you go to Gmail, and boom, a pop up is like, "Did you know you can see your comp now in Workday? Let us take you through it." That's interesting for people. They can see
Mm-hmm.
market data. They can see what's going on with their stuff. And it wasn't a boring email. It wasn't a lumbering HR compliance thing. It was like, hey, we're going to take this and actually make it better and give you more of what you want. And they we want that, right? It's all over. It's on Glassdoor, it's on salary.com. I mean, that's interesting for people. And we got feedback on how that works. So I think if you start simple and just pick a couple things, have a few
Mm-hmm.
conversations, and just change how you're rolling things out a little bit and test it and iterate it. That's what marketing campaigns do, right? They test, they iterate, and they evolve.
Love that. And I love that you're leveraging your own technology through the leadership of a marketing team to partner and really level up the people function folks and educate them on how to increase awareness, because that's what this is. It's an awareness building campaign, and you measure the data around the
Yeah.
awareness.
And not all
um,
customers are created equal, right? The other thing is play around with segmentation. We always have to say we're going to communicate to the company, we're going to communicate to everyone, right? The memos and the thing. You can communicate different things to different segments, right? Managers might have a different campaign and different angle, different information, a different medium than employees. Engineers might have a different medium that we want to do with salespeople. So you can play around with very targeted, contextualized segmentation by different groups based on who they are, how they listen, what they're interested in, etc.
which is, now we're getting into segmentation, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And how would you think about segmentation? What kind of data? And maybe there's a spectrum from easy, medium to whew, if we get that data, we're able to go to the next level of segmentation. How would you think about what data would be useful?
Yeah, this is where you're seeing a lot more to your question, whether it's doesn't have to be a marketing title, but analysts are coming into HR teams, right? For a lot of different reasons. But data is continuously, especially as your company gets bigger and bigger, do you know what's going on in your workforce and where and how? So to your point about people, process, and technology, really beefing up the technology parts of this for us has
Hmm.
been amazing. It doesn't have to be complex, right? Just thinking about Pendo, we can see how different segments of the workforce are doing things across every system and every program and everything we're doing, right? So if we take Workday, for example, we can see the differences one segment across geography. How are our Japanese employees engaging with this compared to London,
Hmm.
compared to New York or San Francisco or Raleigh? That's very powerful based on what you're trying to do. How are, again, individual contributors differing from managers? How are people that just started and might not know where the bathrooms are, less than 6 months on the job, doing stuff and engaging with things different than people that have been here 3 years?
Hmm.
And of course, functionally, right? How are sales folks doing this different than engineers? Right? That data is really important, not to over rotate and make things so complex that we lose sight of what we're trying to do, but using the technology piece of this in the right way can help you reach and connect with the people parts a lot better. And that's something that's fairly new. That is something that's fairly new. And using technology to measure, just like marketers, right? Like their jobs on the line. What is the value of your campaign? How many MQLs did we get from this event or this outreach that we're doing? We can do the same thing, right? Based on our internal campaigns, how many employees in the company, exactly where and who and what clicked through and completed this program or looked at this that we thought would be really cool and engaging and helpful. Was it? We can see that now. And I mean, I grew up in a time where, to make an employee change, whether it was a job title or comp change, I'd fill out a form and walk down the walk down the hall and drop it into you know a mailbox. So it's
Different
just
times.
insane how fast it's changing.
It is insane, but it's also like super logical to think about it running these campaigns and funnels and thinking about meeting them where they are based on all of this data and segmentation.
And it's
What I'd
really
like,
fun. It's actually really fun. It's a really fun way, again, to iterate, test stuff out, and not be under so much pressure, that HR teams usually impose on. We have to do like, and working with the company and doing that. It's a lot more fun, lighter, I would say.
marketing. That's probably the fun part of the marketing. There's the challenging part, there's the ROI part, there's justification that it work, but this is the fun part, is to figure out how do you connect, how do you surprise them, how do you entertain them, how do you engage them. So what I'd like to do now is, I know you calmed the CEOs down by saying, hey, let's do a couple things. I'm gonna scare them a bit now. I don't want them calm for the next part. I want to be. Let's go 2 3 years out, because if we're saying this is going to be, let me back up. Marketing is successful externally. Otherwise, we would not be doing it.
Correct.
There's a lot of money
Yeah.
that's being made for the organization through leveraging marketing. Okay. If we're agreeing that marketing is going to be impactful internally, it's going to require the people, process, technology years out. So you, the CEOs listening, Kelly's so spot on. We can start small, and you can encourage your teams and give them the resources to begin to run pilots and experiment. But what is the 3 year out, 5 year out? Emerging market no longer emerging, it emerges. 3 years out, it has emerged. So you, the
Yeah.
CEOs, are looking at your strategic roadmaps and you're looking at your budgets, right? This is key, right? You're thinking, where are you going to invest?
Yeah.
So, Kelly, could we, in broad strokes, jump into a future state? What people, process, technology, what technologies maybe they'll be? Will these technologies be like Google Ads, or they'll let us run campaigns and capture data in a certain way? Let's dream. We have no boundaries. We're 3 years out. Things are moving
Right.
so fast already. 3 years probably is it feels like light years away.
Yeah. It does. It's terrifying. I don't, I haven't seen a 5 year plan in a company for over 12 years. So, 3 years is hard enough, especially in venture. And we have AI, right? We have,
Right.
right, all these things coming out, Bard, Chat GPT. It's terrifying. But you know what? I think my plight to CEOs is that's actually going to be more helpful. It basically, people, process, technology. The people part will always be there, right? It's all we always have to connect with the humans, but the technology bubble in that Venn diagram is just going to skyrocket. And I would be fast to adopt it, right? Whether it's, again, this whole digital adoption, just because I'm in it right now, this whole digital adoption for internal teams is blowing up. I mean, there's, trillions of dollars out there. And I think by 2026, something like that, according to Everest, there's going to be over 70% of companies are going to use this technology to help people get stuff done better within companies, right? There's over 200 apps in these companies. People don't know up from down, how to get stuff done, where, why. It's very frustrating. And so part of the marketing is, how do we help people get stuff done easier, process and technology wise, while winning hearts and minds and helping them understand the why behind it. That will never go away. So I think that whether it's a combination of AI, automation, ease, how are you using your tools, reducing that? How are you removing friction from processes through in-app situations and guides and tools and marketing campaigns, and reaching people more targeted, right person, right way, right time, just in time. That's going to be different. We're not going to, we're going to move from, again, big lumbering announcements, kind of slow thing, just like speed, fast, different message, different to different people at different times based on different goals and who they are. And I think that's the biggest way things are going to shift. And that should be a good thing for CEOs and frankly leadership teams, not just HR people or CEOs. You actually save money, right? I mean, we personally cut out 3 ops people by boosting up the technology bubble to reach people better, that's still aligned with our values and who we are. And I think that's going to be the big shift that you're seeing. And we're already seeing it now. And we're actually, Adam, we're seeing it in non-traditional tech companies the
Hmm.
most, right? So
Fascinating.
it is. I mean, those companies, whether it's manufacturing or agriculture, they're getting very curious on
Hmm.
how to help people work better, because it's just, there's a lot of friction. And the more tools, the more apps, the more stuff, the more distributed teams
Hmm.
are, the higher that friction is. And it used to be everyone's on site in San Francisco, right? Everyone comes into the office and they're all on site. We get them in a room and we're going to reach them. That's gone. You got people all over the world, usually, sometimes across. I worked for a company and we had employees in their homes across 34 states. You can't do that anymore. So I'd
Hmm.
argue the only way to get creative is by exploring the technology piece of it more.
So well said. And speaking, you're right. Not just CEOs. We're talking to anyone really that received this message in order for them to be convinced to begin to look at marketing in the world of HR. And I just encourage you who are listening, who got this from an innovator, to ask yourself, when you go on Amazon, right, and you check out a bike, that same bike is going to follow you around until you buy it,
That's
right?
right.
Until you buy it, or until you figure out the next big item that you're contemplating. Now, our brains are, as consumers, being rewired for everything to be hyper relevant for us.
That's
I
right.
mean, again, scary, not scary. You walk down the street, soon it's going to detect your phone, and the ad changes, and someplace already exists. That everything we see is about us connecting with us. And instead, in organizations, we send out one newsletter to 10,000, 5,000 people, and the learning and development program is, 1,000 people get the same, and your benefits are once per year. Hey, we care about you. Here are the things. See you again next year. Nonsense. That has got to change.
Yeah.
I was leading there to a question, but I got overexcited
No,
there, Kelly.
it's all changing, and it's a bit mind numbing because it's changing so quickly. But
Ah,
gone are the days of one to many at the same time. It is all the time, targeted, personalized, and contextualized. You can't do that without technology.
you can't. But I propose that we hone in at the end of our conversation to something you said earlier, which is 3 years out, 5 years out. That's crazy talk to create an exact plan with things moving this fast. But could we shape the North Star, which you already began
For
to do?
sure.
Right message,
For
what
sure.
right person, right time, is that the North Star, right channel perhaps? How do we shape the North Star that you all listening to this, if you say yes to that, you're either going to begin it now and be early, or eventually you're going to be trying to catch up to others who are already embarking on that path? How
For
would you
sure.
shape that North Star,
I
Kelly?
no, I think that is, and kind of meant what is the specific technologies that are going to be out there. I have no idea. These things pop up. I mean, it could be tomorrow, but I think the North Star is exactly that. The way of working is totally changing. Um, a lot of companies were already distributed. The pandemic accelerated that for everyone, and we just can't work the same way we did anymore. And we got to start treating employees more like customers. They don't have to be where they are, right? How are you selling to them and engaging them in all the things that they expect from their companies? They'll go down the street. And I think this digital workforce, this technology is helping companies to do that faster. And I think it's going to be kind of a no choice 5 years into the future.
Ooh, no choice 5 years
I
from
don't I
now.
don't think there'll be a choice. I think if you're not working that way or using these things, it's going to cause a lot of friction. It's going to be a less of a value proposition, right? Brands of great companies that are just phenomenal to work at, and they're going to get the marketing brand. They're going to go there. So how do we continue to innovate on this? And it's normal. We've been doing this. I've been doing this 24 years. I started with Intuit, great company. They were even thinking of new things back then in 2000. And then it's just different times have different evolutions, and I think we're at the precipice of one that's shifting very fast right now along these lines.
It's both exciting and I don't know, and I wouldn't say the word scary. Just it's a big change that's going to take
It
place,
is.
and I'm seeing minds change through the podcast. Actually, I've had 400 plus conversations, over 70 interviews. I have 30 more in process,
Yeah.
and I've got this unusual view. And Kelly, I have to say, you're one of the bleeding edge folks. You truly get it. Let's check in. How well do you think we did to convince the leader who received this from an innovator, this episode,
Yeah.
to convince them to be, how about we keep the bar at open minded? not convinced to write a check
Right.
or just
Right.
open-minded to continue the conversation. What do you think? Did we
I'd give us an 8 out of 10. Look. I think it's probably. I don't think anyone disagrees with the shift that's happening. Right. There's that, and the technology that'll be needed. I could see there being, well, do I need this or do I need a marketer and HR? That's probably where some of this is. I would just encourage everyone to just go out and talk to 10% of your company in the next week, just 10 minutes each, and just ask them, right? How do you want stuff coming to you? What do you expect? How are things changing? Like, just get customer back feedback would be my plight to
Here's one thing I bet you $1,000 that you're not going to hear. I wish I received more emails from my organization.
No, you're not. I mean, aren't that's the point about the segmentation. Our engineers literally
Exactly.
have said, I don't read emails. They don't have to anymore. So you have to meet these people where they are, because the good ones are going to work the way they want to work. It's just how it is, you know?
It's
Um,
how it is. I would agree with you. I think got an 8 out of 10, but I'm going to ask the audience or even the leaders who received this. If you received this, do us a favor, just one number underneath the comment,
yeah,
or you, the innovators,
yeah.
throw in a number below this. I've never done this before. I'd like to know how we've done on this, or also how would we do a better job? What have you seen work to convince executives to join you on this journey toward the emerging market? And looking forward to that feedback. I mean,
Yeah.
Kelli, this has been awesome. I really enjoyed
It
this
was so fun.
episode.
It was so fun. But I love to hear from the CEOs, kind of even the lower scores. But I will say, in my 24 years, one thing that no business leader has been able to refute is employee feedback, how people feel and what they perceive. I mean, you can't really argue that. And every venture company I've been a part of, the first 3 months, I literally have met with every single employee, every single one, under 300 people. Um, and it's the best thing ever. For me, it was better than any number or any measure, and it's real. So I think that if you do nothing else, that will help kind of move forward.
Amazing. And just for where we began the episode, and you talked about boxing early in your career, it also kind of shows me, where you have the courage to take on these big questions, these bold questions. It makes sense, and you're willing to stand up and say that this is what I think. So just appreciate you having the courage to join the conversation.
Yeah, love being here. Thank you.
Awesome. Over now, Kelli.